anyone in the UK can legally call themselves a veterinary nurse tomorrow without a single day of training. That is a staggering flaw in modern healthcare system, and protecting that title is the single most important workforce reform in a generation. Welcome to The Consult Room, the podcast where we explore the evolving world of modern pet care. I'm Dr. Paul Manktelow, a UK veterinary surgeon with a deep passion for pet health and welfare. In each episode, I'll be exploring key issues, challenging perspectives, and offering expert insight and practical advice. Because ultimately, my mission is to improve the lives of pets and the people who love them. I recorded a previous episode on the Consult Room called Why the Veterinary Surgeons Act is being reformed and what it means for pet care. And in that episode, we looked at the why. Now, why the Competition and Markets Authority stepped in and why a law written in 1966 is no longer fit for purpose. Now, today, we're taking the next step and we're looking at the how. Now, DEFRA has published its landmark white paper, Our Vision for a Thriving Veterinary Sector, formally launching consultations to completely overhaul the Veterinary Surgeons Act. Now, this isn't just legal fine print. This is the blueprint for how every vet practice across the UK will actually operate moving forward. So before we dive into the mechanics, I want to set the scene. Now, like many vets of my generation, I grew up watching All Creatures Great and Small, and I've spoken about this before. You know, this image of James Herriot turning up with his bag, stitching up a dog on the kitchen table and then heading out the back to a nearby farm to deliver a calf. And it was really warm, it was personal, and it was simple. And for a long time, that was the public image of veterinary care. Now, in many ways, the 1966 Veterinary Surgeons Act was built for James Herriot. But modern veterinary care looks closer to human hospital medicine. We've got advanced diagnostics like CT and MRI scans. We do much more complex surgeries, and we have multidisciplinary clinical teams and long-term care plans. Now, the 1966 law regulated the individual vet, but it completely ignored the world around them. Now, today we're going to unpack the 5 core pillars of DEFRA's new white paper and looking at how modern regulation will actually work on the clinic floor. Now, let's start with what is arguably the biggest shift in 6 decades, licensing veterinary businesses. Now, under the current 1966 Act, the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons can only regulate me as an individual veterinary surgeon. Now, if the clinic I work for sets clinical targets, if it restricts appointment times, or puts in place pricing structures, the regulator has zero authority over the business entity itself. It can only discipline the individual vet working inside it. For nearly 60 years, the law has treated veterinary medicine as if it is still one person with a bag doing house visits in the local community. But today, veterinary practices are not necessarily owned by vets. And for the first time in history, the law is finally going to hold the business accountable, not just the individual vet. Now, that shift changes everything. Under the new white paper proposals, veterinary practices will finally be licensed as corporate entities. Now, that means business owners, whether they are clinical or non-clinical, will be legally held accountable for practice standards, pricing transparency, clinical governance, and ethical practice policies. Now, it shifts the pressure of the individual vet on the clinic floor and puts accountability squarely where business decisions are made. Now, the second pillar changes how veterinary professionals are regulated throughout their careers, and it's this modernizing fitness to practice. Now, right now, our disciplinary system operates on a really outdated 1960s model based on disgraceful conduct. It's extremely rigid and often feels like an all or nothing hammer. Now, the new framework introduces a modern fitness to practice model, so similar to what you see in the NHS and human medicine. Now, it focuses on continuous competence, professional support, and proportional risk management. So alongside this, a formalised licence to practice will ensure that every vet and veterinary team member actively demonstrates ongoing education and up-to-date skills. It's about building a culture of continuous improvement rather than living under an archaic disciplinary threat. Now, the third pillar is something I am incredibly passionate about: protecting the veterinary nurse title. Now, here is a fact that shocks almost every pet guardian I speak to. Right now, the title veterinary nurse is not protected by law in the UK. So registered veterinary nurses, or RVNs, complete years of rigorous tertiary education, practical exams, and professional registration, yet the law doesn't distinguish them from an unqualified assistant. Anyone in the UK can legally call themselves a veterinary nurse tomorrow without a single day of training. That is a staggering flaw in modern healthcare system, and protecting that title is the single most important workforce reform in a generation. When I was a brand new graduate over 20 years ago, it was the veterinary nurses who truly taught me how to survive real world practice. They didn't just teach me practical procedures, they showed me how to manage patients, handle panicked owners with really deep compassion, and navigate some of those really high stress emergencies. Now, under the new white paper proposals, the veterinary nurse title will finally gain statutory legal protection, which is fantastic. But not only that, it paves the way for expanding their clinical scope. Just like advanced nurse practitioners in human medicine, empowering highly trained RVNs to run autonomous clinics, manage chronic cases, and perform specific procedures will, I think, revolutionize practice efficiency, allowing vets to focus on vet things, but also, I think, most importantly, hopefully giving pet guardians access to more affordable veterinary care. Now, the fourth pillar widens the lens even further, and that's regulating allied professionals. The fourth pillar widens the lens even further, regulating allied professionals. Now, modern pet care doesn't stop with vets and nurses. Thousands of pets rely on veterinary physiotherapists, hydrotherapists, musculoskeletal therapists, and for our horses, things like farriers. Now, historically, these professions have existed in a fragmented regulatory grey zone, if you like. The reform proposes bringing those allied professionals under one unified regulatory umbrella. But what does this mean for you as a pet guardian? It means clearer delegation rules from your vet, guaranteed standards of training and insurance, and seamless multidisciplinary care, and hopefully absolute peace of mind that anyone treating your animal is legally recognised and regulated. So finally, we have to talk, I guess, about the elephant in the room, and that's managing expectations on cost. Now, the CMA, the Competition and Markets Authority inquiry, was triggered in large part by public frustration over rising vet bills. And because this white paper followed that inquiry, there is a widespread public assumption that reforming the Veterinary Surgeons Act will automatically make vet care cheaper. And I think we need to be completely candid about this. Let's be brutally honest. Rewriting a 60-year-old law will not magically make your vet bill cheaper. It won't stop inflation, and it won't lower the cost of cutting-edge technology. But hopefully what it will do is give you transparency on where your money goes and who is actually delivering your pet's care. Updating a 1966 law does not stop economic inflation. It doesn't reduce the cost of running advanced MRI machines, buying surgical equipment, or paying qualified clinical staff fair wages in the middle of a global workforce shortage. But what reform will do or could do is improve efficiency, eliminate hidden business practices, mandate clear upfront price lists, and give you access to an independent ombudsman when things go wrong. It will hopefully bring transparency and trust back into the room. But we must be honest that high-level advanced medicine carries inherent costs. So to wrap up, the 1966 Veterinary Surgeons Act served us for decades, but the Herriot era of, practicing medicine in people's homes and on the kitchen table, that is long gone. This white paper isn't about blaming the past. It's about building a framework that matches how we actually practice veterinary medicine today by licensing businesses, protecting our veterinary nurses, regulating allied professionals, and modernizing fitness to practice. We are finally creating a system for the 21st century. Now, as this consultation progresses, it's really vital that pet guardians and veterinary teams stay engaged, informed, and realistic about what true reform looks like. Thank you for listening to this episode. You'll find all the relevant links to this conversation in the show notes. If you enjoyed it, please follow us and leave a review. It really helps other people discover the podcast. For more insights on topics like this, you can connect with me on social media at Dr. Paul the Vet, or check out my website, theconsultroom.co.uk.